All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Finance Junkies. It is September 19th, 2023, 7:03 p.m. How are you guys doing? How's your day?
My day just started, really. I got up like at 2 or so. It's so brutal. I can't tell you
The life
how
of an
crazy.
editor.
Yeah, you guys are basically the first people I talk to in
Read
the
my
morning.
comment.
Yo, V is hilarious. Okay, so let me just V says petition to give AMIT 30% of super chats for clipping.
Well, you got a wrench. That's
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
V's like, we're getting AMIT back his money. No, guys, clipping takes like 20 minutes. It's not, it's not something.
But do you
No,
see that
we
almost
appreciate it, by
every?
the way. That is still a job. It still takes time. So I actually do appreciate that. That takes some time. That's not free time,
Did you see
That's
how
for
almost
sure.
every
But
comment?
it's fun at the end of the day. It's growing the channel, right?
I
That's
thought
the
you
whole
had
point.
somebody who did this stuff. Didn't you have
No,
some
I'm getting
boy?
someone in the Philippines to automate this stuff. I'm getting someone in the Philippines to take my
Yeah.
timestamps, plug it into Wondershare Filmora, which is a $40 editing software, and just cut it up so that I don't have to do the cutting. But the thumbnails I have to do because,
Why can't you just
thumbnails
get
aren't
them to
best
do the
editing.
whole thing?
Well,
Well,
the
that's just
thumbnails
the-
require a little bit of creativity.
Man, he needs
like
Oh,
like
the
a-
thumbnails,
he
yeah.
needs a
Thumbnails.
job.
Creativity.
What does he
You have
do?
the worst thumbnails in the history of thumbnails.
Vitaly,
no, I
he
do.
needs
But
a
that's because
job.
for
What
me
does
to
he
spend
do
time
all
to
day?
think of the thumbnails.
I don't know. He talks Palantir 99% of the day. I have no idea. Actually,
Listen,
What do
every
you do all day?
comment under every
I
clip
buy
is
SoFi
always,
spreads. And
every comment under every clip is always put the original date, put the date of the original time.
Yeah.
that
That's
the
what we could
show
use
aired.
the
That's something that
virtual assistant.
yeah,
Yeah.
is put
You
the.
do
No, but
the
that's going to
thumbs.
start happening with the new clips, because if you see the new clips, that's what happens. The older clips, I haven't
Yeah.
done that for like March, because I'm not going back to March videos. But for the new
Right,
clips,
right.
it's all there.
Right. Well,
So
if
You
this
do the
guy,
thumbs.
if
It's
this
the
guy's on
same
payroll,
thumb. I've seen the same thumb for Finance Junkies for like 6 months.
yeah, I
If you want to
basically-
send me
I
some new
keep looking
pictures
like
of
I have
you,
a different disease every time. Like
Carlos
I
has a
look-
disease in
I
those
look
pictures.
like the Joe Rogan ivermectin.
Well, wait,
CNN.
Yo, let's put it out
is
here.
Chris still in a
If-
suit like he's our manager?
yeah, Chris,
I am a manager.
if someone wants to do the thumbnails for us, let me know.
Yeah.
I mean, we can work out some payment deal or whatever. But if someone wants to do daily thumbnails, like 3 to 5 thumbnails a day, like the topic plus our 4 faces, and you're good at that shit, let us know, and we'll.
What happened
we'll
to
hook
your
you up.
boy?
I
What's
volunteer
his name?
David. I volunteer David B.
Oh my god!
Oh, boom! There you go. The 5 best.
All right,
songs.
David. We started it
Jesus.
off hard with $70. Can we
Yo,
all
you-
agree that?
Go ahead.
Can we all agree the 5 best Tool songs are Sweat? Oh, Tool. Okay, you're talking about. I thought you were talking about like a Tool at Home Depot or something. Sweat, Undertow, Stinky Fist, 46, and To the Grudge.
It's not
That's not enough.
Stinky
I need
Fist.
enough.
It's Stink Fist.
He's used to
It sounded
stinky
like
fist.
Stinky Fist.
That's so great.
Bro, I don't know these musicians, David. I guess VITALY and
Did you
Carlos
see?
do, but
Did
I
you
don't-
watch that link that I sent you? Did you see that link?
When
that I
did you
sent
send the link?
I sent
when
you a
did you
link,
send
and I was like, "It's the link that was the video was titled Tool Fans Being Born."
No, I haven't watched that one yet.
Okay, I
remember
said
that.
that will make you a believer, and that's one of their new songs. I'm surprised that's not on it. The Pot. Okay,
Well,
David, I would agree with 46 and 2 and The Grudge are definitely great. The Grudge is an it's underappreciated song because it's not like a big bellowing vocal thing, but it's an incredible song. But I mean, how do you not have The Pot on there? How do you not have Eulogy? I mean, Eulogy is another fantastic song. And I'm sorry, but I think Lateralis is their best song. Might not be the most popular, but I think Lateralis is the best song. That's the one that's written. It's a musical representation of the Fibonacci sequence, that the sequence of numbers. I think that has to be on the
It's
list.
a musical representation of the Fibonacci sequence.
Yes, if
Interesting.
we look up the Fibonacci sequence, it's like a series of numbers. I think it's like
No, I know what it is, but I never heard a musical version of it. That's
right.
interesting.
So what they do is basically all of the parts of the song are based on one of the numbers in there. So like they'll have a 13-bar repeat or 7-bar repeat, a 9-bar repeat. The lyrics, the syllables in the lyrics follow the same pattern, and it all sort of overlaps. It's an absolutely incredible song. And
Well, I think you're missing the reason I got into Tool was Sober. That
Sober
was the main
another
reason.
fantastic.
That was the main reason I started listening to Tool. I thought that song was amazing.
That song
So-
was amazing. That song was great. You could argue that there are better songs, but in terms of popularity, that was a song that as soon as you heard that, you're like, who is this band? Like, who's this
Yeah.
singer? Who's this drummer?
I think that got a lot of people into that first
Well,
album. Yeah.
Crawl Away. I think, didn't we cover Crawl Away?
I don't think so. No.
I think we did.
Oh, I don't remember that.
That reminds me of one of the songs I really liked back in the day. "Crawling in the Dark" by Hoobastank. Did you
Yes.
guys ever? That was a freaking
yeah.
awesome song,
Oh yeah,
man.
yeah.
Yeah.
All those bands. I wonder what
I've
happened to
actually
those
been
guys.
learning "Sweet Child of Mine" at night, and my wife keeps yelling at me, "Shut the fuck up."
It's a good song.
But
Have
I'm
you
learning,
guys
how to,
listened
I'm
to
learning how to play all the solos. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah,
Did you guys listen to?
solos-
Have you listened to Justin Bieber? All That Matters.
No, no.
Just that's a good song if you want to
There
have
you go.
better music. All right.
I don't know
Let's
how
get
you
into
have
the
an
first topic.
audience. How do you have an audience?
Let's get into the first topic of the day. 10-year T-bills have risen to 4.37%, the highest since 2007. The 2-year is at 5.09%, which is the highest it's been since 2006. Rates are continuing to rise despite a Fed rate pause expected tomorrow at the FOMC meeting. Why? Because the U.S. is issuing record levels of Treasury bonds to fund the deficit spending. Currently, right now, we have $33 trillion in debt. There is so much supply that it is driving bond prices lower and Treasury yields higher because people are thinking that because we're going to have to fund more of the deficit with Treasury bonds, the yield will be higher on those to finance all the debt. Between this quarter and the next, $1.9 trillion in U.S. Treasury bonds will be issued. And higher interest rates, obviously, is one of the reasons for why we're spending $2 billion a day paying off our interest, $600 billion a year. Defense budget is $692 billion. So basically what we're spending on defense, we're spending on our interest payments. I guess here's the question. How can we expect the stock market?
That's a massive number. I'm sorry. Wait, you said that they're spending as much on the interest on the debt than they're paying as they're spending on the military?
About 2.5 billion a day. So times 365. It gets around to like 640 billion, something like that.
That is
defense spending is 692.
Dagger.
So I guess the question is, how do we expect the stock market ever to go up when we have yields at the highest they've been since the great financial crisis, even though the Fed is expecting to pause rates? Let's start with Chris, and then we'll move on to Carlos. Go ahead.
I mean, I think people have gotten used to these low rates for the last decade, but if you go back into history, this is not an unusual rate to pay. The problem that we do have right now is that our national debt is so high that now a lot of the tax receipts are going to be going straight into the interest payments on these things, which is not good. But it also means that now the federal government has to be better about managing their money. Like before, with low yielding debt, you could have financed a lot of extra spending, but now you really need to scale that back. So I think a combination of cutting back on some outlays from the federal government and also some tax increases are actually very warranted right now. Just fiscal health is definitely on the downside right now. But this is where I have to take a pause and just say how much deflation is on the way for us with technology, because technology is very deflationary. And if you look at AI looks like it's going to be the biggest productivity boost that we've ever seen. So what does that mean for us as an economy? I don't know. Like, I do think that 10-year being 4.36 is not good for a lot of companies who have a lot of debt, who are going to need to refinance that debt, because any debt that they issue, they're going to be having to deal with the hurdle rate of a fixed 10-year with a AAA rated government. So instead, they're probably going to have to shell out maybe, I would say, 800 to 900 basis points just to get a deal done for most corporate issuers who are either right above investment grade or close to investment grade. And if you're not investment grade, then bro, good luck trying to get financing for anything.
I think we've been saying this for a while, that we need to high class our portfolios, and we're all hoping that next year the rates start coming down. But the problem is the companies who aren't making money, and some of us are investing in those companies, we have some spec stocks, that if they don't have a runway, if you check their books and they don't have a runway for at least 3 years, it's super dangerous. Like, these are zombie companies that might go away. And nobody wants their investments to go away, but we really have to be careful about this. Because I agree with you, Chris, that the rates aren't that high and I talked about this before. My first house was around 8%. So the rates themselves are not that high. It's the speed at which it happened, and it caught a lot of companies off guard. And those that aren't prepared, obviously the big ones are, but there are a lot of small ones that we invest in. So you just got to be careful out there. And I would not be buying more stocks that aren't profitable right now. I would be waiting for that.
Carlos, your thoughts? Is this just bullish for crypto?
Well, actually, speaking of which, I want to share something.
We have to mention BTC at least once.
Well, we do because we're within a day or two of my target date for the.
Why was this your target date again?
I mean, I can pull up the data. If you just look at the way that the way that especially Bitcoin cycles work, they're pretty cyclical. There's something like the halving builds in sort of cyclical changes in the price action. And if you look at the previous 3 years, September 20th, September 21st has marked the lowest price for the rest of the year. And so it's not like a prediction, but I'm saying if history repeats itself, especially in a pre-halving year, this should be the lowest price that we see from now till the end of the year. And because it's a pre-halving year, considering that the halving will happen roughly, I don't know, in May or something of next year, then it could be the lowest price that we see until we get that blow-off peak, which people are expecting at some point in 2024. So, but
you still think we're not going to 20 grand? Are you saying that's it? 27,000 was the bottom, or 26,000 or something?
No, I mean, we can pull it up looking at the charts. I actually think we'll probably bottom out at 24,000. I don't think we're going to get to 20 or below 20. That's what I was hoping for. And I've got some money on the side waiting for that 20, maybe even if wicks under 20, 19,000. But I just don't think we're going to see that. It's been pretty resilient right now.
I still think we will.
You could even pull up a chart.
And especially Ethereum, it's not as strong when Bitcoin is strong. So yeah. I still see Ethereum heading back to 1,000.
I'd love to, but it already did. If you look back at it
went to 750. Yes, yeah. Absolutely.
So it already, we've already kind of touched that point, and it sat there for a minute. So regardless, my thinking is that if we see a massive red candle the next day or two in Bitcoin, I think that's, for me, is the final buying opportunity, because it would also mark that we've now made 3 or 4 lower highs since that peak that we had back in July. So we've been steadily declining. And if history holds correct, then that should be the lowest price that we see till the end of the year. And because it's pre-halving, I think that might actually be, we might actually sit around that level, and then maybe we start running up in December, because it always has a kind of a Santa Claus rally, with the exception of last year, which was that blow off.
I think Bitcoin has a way to flush out a lot of people. So I mean, even if it's like for an hour, I still see $20,000.
I would love to.
Let me ask this question. So that tweet that I shared saying that the U.S. has to issue more debt because we have to finance the original debt. So they have to issue more treasury bonds to finance our debt. Do we see any world in which this really does lead to a hard landing? So like 1.9 trillion in bonds over the past year just to finance the debt to finance debt. Like, does that make sense, or is this just par for the core?
Well, we've discussed this before, that is built into the current fiat system that we have. That's built into it. Inflation is part of our fractional reserve banking system, because the only way that you can get money to fund the operations of the system is through debt. And if you can only pay back the debt with the same money that's issued, every dollar that's issued is issued at debt. And so it's just a matter of controlling the rate of inflation. But now they're just going crazy. I mean, I was just responding to someone on Twitter that was commenting about that too. They asked Vitaly and I if we were concerned at all about the amount of debt. If you just look at the rate of debt that we've accumulated, I mean, it was, I don't know, maybe $1 trillion back in 2000, and now we're at something like $30 trillion. This seems to me like running up the credit cards right before you claim bankruptcy. I just don't see how we ever repay $30 trillion worth of debt. I just don't see it.
I think the point is, by the way, never to repay it. So the way it gets repaid is by just going to zero, literally. So as the dollar devalues, that debt devalues. That's the way it works. It's just how fast they increase, obviously, and print. So I'm not sure, like, well, I keep going back to, I'm not sure that I'll be alive to see the United States suffer from this. It will eventually, but I'm not sure I'll be there for that.
If you just think about the rate that we're going from in the last 20 years, we've gone from, say, 1 trillion to 30 trillion. That's 20 years. So you're saying, let's just say if we just continue that.
Imagine going from 0 to 1 trillion. They were saying the same thing.
Let's get Chris in here. Then
we can get to $60 trillion. I mean, at a certain point, it's like,
so
debt next year.
Honestly, debt doesn't matter until your GDP ends up getting contracted. Like right now, our percentage of debt to GDP, if you look at in Q1 of 2020, hit an all-time high of about 134% of our GDP. What's good is that our economy is supercharged into growth mode right now. And so our economy is growing relatively fast enough to actually meet our debt obligations without too much of an issue. So in terms of debt to GDP, we're not that bad, and we're actually trending in the right direction until about last quarter. So hopefully this is where the dynamism of the US economy keeps us afloat, you know, and so that's
what
what
the
it
thesis
is.
for AI, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you look at the US, and this is something that, God, I hate fucking quoting the grifter Chamath, man. This shit pisses me off. But he is right in that he is right in that outside of the US, there's not a lot of things going on. Okay, and the quote, and this is the best quote that I heard like a few weeks ago. I had to write it down. But basically, and I forgot who exactly said it, but he said Europe is a museum. Japan is an old folks home, and China is a prison. So where else are you gonna have like everything else? Like, it's the US, baby. You know, everyone else is still growing, like India is still growing, but they're nowhere near where we are. Same thing with South America, Africa, and the other modern economies that are out there are kind of like waffling. Like, look at what's going on in China, look at what's going on in Japan. Like each one of those countries has a problem. So even
Japan has more debt than we do. Right?
Yeah, in terms of debt to GDP, they do.
Yeah, debt to GDP
hasn't that been that way for 20 years?
They're worse than us.
Yeah, yeah. So the key here is that we are the best of the worst. So it's not like the world is great and the U.S. somehow is a shitty place to be. No, the U.S. dollar is still the place you want to be in terms of investment. U.S. is still the place you want to be in terms of stability. You know, we are the most stable. We do have the best like system of law. We can actually start businesses and, you know, efficiently make money. Other countries, it's not as simple as that. Like, my father-in-law just got back from India, and our car ride home, he was telling me about, like, basically he inherited land, you know, when his father passed away, and they're still trying to just basically just work out the paperwork to move ownership to him. That's it. It's fucking 15 years of this shit. Literally every time he goes, he has to pay this guy off who has to get a stamp from this guy. I'm sure, Amit, you know what I'm talking about. If you've ever worked in the fucking Indian legal system, try opening a business in India, and let me tell you, you have to pay about 10 people before you can even do one thing. Whereas in the US, boom, you get an LLC, you get an EIN within a heartbeat. You can get a business up and running like within days if you want.
Dude, I opened my first LLC in 2018. It literally took 20 minutes.
Ink
like,
it now,
I thought we had to go to court
or
or something.
Legal Zoom, you can do it for what, like $200 bucks.
I didn't even have to go to legal. I didn't have to use the service. I went to NewJersey.gov.smallbusiness.
You could do it for free. Yeah.
You did it for free? I was just like, what?
Or cheap.
Crazy.
Not free, but cheap.
Like, America allowed me to start a business at 20 years old just in 2 minutes. It was insane.
And then he immediately scammed a couple of people.
But they won't give you a loan. But they won't give you a loan for that business.
So, Chris, you brought up a point earlier about debt, you know, that we have to take control of it. Well, first of all, they increased the debt ceiling. This was recent. So that happened.
But by the way, we have 11 days until we have to do that again, or else we shut down.
Yeah, so they're going to do it again. So my point is, they're not fiscally responsible. That's not going to happen. So they're just going to keep increasing it. And number two, the elections are next year. The Democrats are not going to be trying to charge you more taxes right now. That's not going to happen either. So I think we're in this.
You mean the Republicans won't try to tax you more? The Democrats won't cut spending.
No. What he's saying is in an election year, they're not going to run on a platform to say we're going to increase the tax.
They're not going to do that. That would be like, then definitely the Republicans are in 100%. Yeah. I mean, you know, first of all, I am a Democrat. I'm okay to admit it, at least publicly. But the people there are complete idiots. And I do wish there's some change that happens. I have no idea what will happen.
Who do you think is the best Democratic politician right now?
Joe Biden.
Joe Biden is the best Democratic politician.
No, honestly, it's probably Gavin Newsom.
No, like, look, it doesn't matter. It doesn't.
Wait, you think he's the best?
I don't think he's a good. But out of all the choices, Gavin or Joe Biden, you would pick Gavin, bro.
If you live in California,
it's not like we get to choose. The guy running is the old Joe is running. Okay, so
that's the issue. You get disillusioned by the way someone speaks. You have to look at their actions.
No, I agree. He's a piece of crap, but he can talk. Biden's gonna sleep.
Talking means nothing. Talking is the cheapest form of currency.
I agree, but he can campaign. He can run a campaign, in my opinion. Gavin Newsom.
Okay, so you're saying that you think he could win?
I think he has a shot
because he speaks well.
Well, what is a campaign? A campaign is rallying people to believe in your ideas.
Right, but the point of the point of being elected is to govern. It's about how a person's going to govern, not how well they win.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that. All of them are shitty at that. But Vivek is winning right now because the boy can speak. That's my point. I don't.
But he's
disagree
not
with that.
winning because he can speak. He's winning because of what he's saying, or at least
No, he's winning because he can. You think he's going to abolish the FBI,
it's
Carlos?
because of what he's saying.
75% reduction.
You think he's going to? No, seriously. Do you really think he can govern the United States of America by abolishing the FBI and CIA?
No, I'm not saying he.
He would be dead before he steps into the White House.
He would get assassinated.
Like, that's obvious.
No, what I'm saying is what he's saying is resonating with people. And it's
because he's talking. That's my point.
But it's more.
Yeah.
But
He's a good
it's
talker.
what he's saying. It's not just the way.
But what he's saying is bullshit, Carlos.
Okay,
It's
what's
bullshit.
Gavin Newsom saying?
No. He is a good speaker, though, so that is important. And
But it's
actually,
more-
Andrew Yang, someone brought up. Yeah, I do like Andrew Yang.
The reason why Andrew Yang had such success is because what he was saying made sense to people. He was able to make common sense arguments for what were
I'm not going that
complex
deep.
issues.
My point is Democrats vote for Democrats, Republicans vote for Republicans. There's a select party in the middle. I think Gavin Newsom is talkative enough to get some of that middle to come here. I'm not saying he's the best
I think
Democrat.
you underestimate how hated that guy is, especially out here.
I mean,
maybe how hated that guy is out
Well,
here.
luckily, California doesn't control everything.
But there's a saying: as California goes, the rest of the country goes. California is sort of a bellwether state in a lot of things.
I think it's the way Ohio goes. the way Ohio goes.
But the first caucus, it's always Ohio.
We know where California is going. They're voting Democrats. We know where New York is voting. They're voting Democrats.
I mean,
we know where Texas is voting. They're voting Republican. It's like three states that control everything. Okay,
people really liked Schwarzenegger when he was
Georgia, Ohio. What's the other one? Florida?
Florida. Florida's basically gone Republican for the past couple elections.
Yeah, it's a couple of states.
I wanted to
look at Yang. Look right there, 424. We Californians hate that Newsom guy.
No, I know California is definitely not voting for this.
Oh
guy.
yeah.
But while we're talking about debt, or Chris, last take on this, then we'll go.
Yeah. So no, I mean, I think the problem is with the country right now is that people are running to get elected and not running to be the leader of the country. You know, when you have okay, I'll be honest. I agree with Amit. I think 90% of what Vivek is saying is horseshit. And he's doing that because he needs to get elected. And what typically happens is every politician does this. They play to the base. They play to, I'm all about small government. I'm all about throwing Mexicans across the border and building a wall and making Mexico pay for it. Yeah, that's not fucking practical. We all fucking know that, but it resonated with the people that got him elected. So at the end of the day, everyone who's a good politician knows that they have to say what they have to say to get into office, and then they can make the changes that are necessary. I'm sure even President Obama, I don't know if you guys remember his speeches. He wasn't exactly for gay marriage back then because he knew that gay marriage was not a topic that was very popular. Now, I'm sure he can come out and say, I love gay marriage. But that is what politicians do. They have to get elected first, and then they do what they have to put the country in the right.
You have to placate your base. You campaign to the center, and then you govern however the hell you want. Because you could say, well, things changed, right? Since I got into office, things changed, and I have to react. We're not campaigning anymore. We actually have
unfortunately, I think we're more trending towards like a Roman Republic style of like oligopoly than a real republic, where basically you just have a bunch of oligarchs that pay lobbyists and what are they called? Super PACs to basically put the election in a certain way. And if your guy gets in, you get all the favoritism and you get all the regulations going your way. So whoever's got the most money right now, shit happens that way. Look at all these pharma companies. You think they spend all this money lobbying because they just love giving money to politicians? No, like everyone has a price. Every politician has a price. And that's kind of the part that sucks. I think one of the worst decisions the Supreme Court ever made was the
Citizens United.
Citizens United, which basically gave this ability to do all these fucking super PACs. And now all this money is flowing into politics, but there's an investment opportunity for us.
Oh boy. Here we go.
Before you leave the Roman Republic, just so you know, America's 250 years old, right? Somewhere around there?
Correct. Yep.
So 250 years. Rome lasted 500 years before it became. I was actually looking this up. We have another 250 years of this going on.
Yo, why are men so obsessed with the Roman? What is this meme going on?
Oh yeah. I've seen that.
Like, can someone explain the meme to me? Why are we talking?
I would say it's just something romantic about that empire, right? It seems
apparently
so
he thinks about Rome. There you
go.
I've never thought of the Roman Empire, bro. I don't give a fuck. Why is every guy apparently thinking?
Well, there's that show?
I am watching Troy. That's Greece.
Isn't that a movie?
Show? Isn't that
That's
a
an
show
old
called
movie.
Rome? Hold on.
No, because there's so many similarities between the Roman Empire and what's happening to us as a country right now that men can't help but think about that, and just go back into it like, oh yeah, the differences between the poor and the rich. You think that that's a new concept? Like, no, that was a concept that was heavy during the Roman Republic. And so when Julius Caesar came to power, right, he was basically like, oh, I'm all about giving the plebeians more rights, more thing, and basically the senators killed him, right? And a lot of people are equating that to how a lot of people consider Trump, where, oh, Trump is an autocrat, that's the end of democracy. And what did they do? They kept investigating him, they kept impeaching him, and now look at the whole situation with Joe Biden. Joe Biden is probably more aligned with special interests than Trump ever was. Like, if you want an insider, Joe Biden is a fucking insider. Like, the guy's been in politics for the last 50 years, and I'm pretty sure right now he's literally, I don't think there's a single policy decision that actually comes from the top of Joe Biden's head. He's basically a rubber stamp right now. So if Joe Biden wins this election that's coming up, I can almost guarantee that's it. There's no such thing as fucking like the Republic. All it is just special interests who know how to manipulate the system, who know how to manipulate the media and get their guy in, and then basically run the country another 4 years.
Oh yeah, that's new.
Yeah.
But
Trump was the X figure.
It's
Trump was
true.
the
I mean,
X factor.
it's true,
Yeah.
and you can go back. It's true, and you can go back to the '80s that was essentially true. But it's now the illusion of that. The illusion of choice is just they don't even try anymore to present you.
Look, if it was a real choice, then we would have more than two parties running around, but we don't.
There's a slight
there is no
possibility.
choice. It's just the rich people.
Well,
they're both, will be in charge.
They're both like two fingers on the same hand. It's not like they're not actually fundamentally at war. There are certain things that both parties completely agree with, and you can say that that they both want to go to war. There's certain things that they both want, and when you look at where they do agree, those are usually the things that are the most detrimental to the country. So there's an illusion of them not being on the same side.
Speaking of debt and inflation, let's do this one last clip, and then we'll move on to Instacart. This is the Canadian dude, part of Congress, talking about high grocery prices.
Have been dealing with high grocery bills, and neither the leader of the opposition nor the prime minister have the courage to mention
That's their version of the rent is too damn high guy.
the true culprit, the corporate greed, which is driving up prices. In fact, when they have the chance to publicly show up and hold these CEOs to account, neither of them even bothered to show up. The leader of the opposition even gave tax breaks to the wealthy CEOs. When will the prime minister stop the delay and the disappointment? When will this government step up and force these CEOs to finally lower their prices?
Now, Canada's inflation rose to 4% today. This is the second month in a row it's accelerated. So I wanted to bring up the question. In America, I've seen no one blame a CEO of a grocery chain, Whole Foods, Bezos, anything, for higher grocery prices. In Canada, it seems like the government is arguing that the CEOs of these grocery stores are raising prices, not their 4% year-over-year inflation growth. So does he have a point? Do the grocery CEOs have too much greed like the automotive CEOs and they need to lower prices of bread for people?
I think the grocery thing, I do notice that it's actually higher. And I'm wondering, why haven't they lowered it? Because oil did come down, transportation, all of these things came down, but I would say groceries are still sticking around high. And I wonder if it's the businesses themselves that once you taste higher profits, do you actually want to remove those profits? You see what I'm saying?
There's two factors into this. Oil prices are back up again. They're back to like $90 a barrel.
95.
That just happened right now,
yeah.
but it was hanging around a long time for like, what was it, 70?
That's fair.
Right. But at the same time, that still is an input cost that's there. And then you also have labor costs. Labor costs are going up everywhere. Look at all the strikes that are happening simultaneously because people are like, oh, I need a higher wage to keep up with inflation. I need a higher wage. This is a really big problem for the Fed because as people's wages get bumped up because of higher inflation and COLA adjustments, you have people with more money, and now people with more money are going to go out and spend, and now you have a cycle of inflation kind of building in. That's why the 10-year treasury right now is trending higher, because it's almost like, hey, I think at this point it's a given that we are going to live in a higher rate, in a higher inflation environment for a long period of time. This is the thing that really is bad, because once that mindset sets in that every year prices are going to go up by 4%, 5%, you're going to go to your employer and say, hey, I want a contract that guarantees me a 5% raise every year because that's what inflation is going at least, you know? So these are the kinds of things that are bad. So right now we've got a tremendous amount of wage inflation happening. You know, and what is the cure to all of this? It's a combination of making sure oil prices go down so that, you know, people can actually afford the input costs to manage profitability for their businesses, and also not backing the labor unions to such a degree that you're going to have a tremendous amount of inflation happen. So one
Real
of the
quick, Chris, to your
examples,
point,
yeah,
Amazon
yeah.
just raised their prices for hourly wages to $20.50 for logistics.
That's what I'm
workers.
saying. Like, dude, in California right now,
You're
fast
gonna
food
see
workers are making what, $20 an hour right now, Carlos?
Oh,
Like
out
at
here? No, I think it's
McDonald's?
15. I don't think it's 20 bucks
No,
an
no, no,
hour.
no. They're raising it
Might
to
be.
20.
Oh,
They're
it could be.
raising it to 20.
Maybe
So
certain
this is
franchises are.
Yeah,
Could
no,
be.
no, 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 no. It's the government saying no.
me
You're
look that
going
up.
to pay this much. So look up McDonald's franchisees in California, because they were lobbying against this, because they were like, if you raise the
As
prices
of September
for us-
12th,
Oh yeah, no, it goes
hold on.
April 2024, $20 goes into effect.
April 2024. Right now, it says as of September 12th, 2023, the average hourly pay for a McDonald's restaurant worker is $13 an hour. $13.02
Right.
an hour.
The
No,
current
but
minimum
that's
wage
for
is
the country.
$15.50. Yeah, the current minimum wage is $15.50.
The
in
average crew
California.
member
And
at
so
hourly McDonald's
is-
makes
is-
about $15 an
At
hour.
California, look at the new legislation that just came out. Like any
Wow.
corporation that has fast food restaurants, I think more than 100 locations, has to pay $20 an hour for a fast food worker.
Yeah,
Earlier this week,
I think I
Governor
agree
Gavin
with you.
Newsom pledged to sign a bill into law in November 2024 that will increase the minimum wage to $20 for fast food workers, representing a nearly 5% hourly increase. So he's supposed to sign it into law November 2024. So we're still over a year out.
So look, wages did go up, but first of all, I don't think it's the fast food workers that are ruining everything. In fact, $20 an hour is not that much. If you do the math for the day, it's not a lot. But this is an interesting chart for oil over the last 50 years, 60, 70 years. And at least in the last 20, I mean, oil has been higher than this. All in the mid 2000s, oil was higher. So I think oil fluctuates around these prices, and that's not the problem right now. It's probably more the wages that are happening for everybody.
Well, you could argue that some
do
of
you,
those
do you think there's any
high-priced
corporate greed, or do you think
There is
do you think
definitely corporate greed. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
100%.
I was mentioning earlier, there was 1 or 2 quarters after the pandemic started, the CEO of Starbucks on one of the quarterly earnings calls was praising his pricing division and for finding ways of dynamically pricing. Like they would change the price almost every week, and they were looking for that buoy point. How much could we raise prices where it would start to affect the demand? And they were dynamically trying to find what that buoy point. And what he was happy with them was that he found that they were actually able to price their products consistently higher, and customers didn't complain. They sort of just accepted the narrative that costs went up. So when you hear that costs go up, hey, it costs us more because we're transport, because of the price of oil. It's always pegged to the price of energy. People will accept a certain percentage increase when you tell them that it's due to the cost of energy. But above that, what they're finding is that people will accept a number even higher because you don't really know what that number is, right?
Yeah.
But I'm seeing everything, even from the monthly subscriptions that I have to software is going up. The monthly subscription that I have to ESPN Plus is going up $1. I don't know how many subscribers they have, but that $1 is going to bring in millions and millions of dollars more just from going from $9.99.
That's good for Disney. That's good for Chris.
You get my point. Like it's this idea, like Chris was saying, once you put it out, the narrative that prices are going to go up, then you accept it for everything. You tell me what increased energy costs, Netflix or Disney or any of these?
No, well, the problem is Disney
are
stock
incurring.
crashed, so they have to do this, right? They fired 7,000 people last I think 5 months ago. Like,
well, the thing is, remember, with even the writers are asking for more
that's
money, which means the stars are asking for more money, which
it's
means that Disney
both
now
paths.
has to raise prices.
But
Just
what
to
people-
even, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
What people are asking for is them to share more of the profit. Do you understand? Like what they're saying is you're making X amount of dollars per year above everything that you spend. What we're asking for,
streaming is not making money. Any studio right now, you go to them and they are not making money, with the exception of Netflix. So I don't know these guys think
in general, when people are asking for higher wages, when the auto workers are asking for more money, what they're saying is you're making record profits quarter over quarter. We're asking you to make slightly less record profits and give us some more of the cut, not to increase prices overall and basically pass along. You're asking the consumer to subsidize our wages. That's what's happening. When they raise prices to combat paying their workers more, what they're essentially doing is passing those increased costs to the customer.
But how come
That,
in the
a way,
United
is a tax
States
on us.
we haven't lamented grocery store CEOs? Like, this is the first time I've ever heard
Because
of.
their profit margin haven't even increased. I just looked.
That's
up
what I was
Kroger.
thinking.
I looked at Kroger's profit margins. They've been at 3% for the last 15 years. Like, give me a company that has a retail division like that, and let's.
That's
look
what I'm
at
saying.
their-
This dude
their
in
operating
Canada, I'm
margin.
like, why is he yelling about grocery stores? Like, grocery. My dad owned a liquor store. He didn't make a lot of margin
That's
on the
because
liquor he sold.
that's because groceries. That is a necessity. That is something where people will feel it, right? That's a touch point that you have to a customer virtually every day. Even if you do shopping once a week, you feel it, and you see
So
a
why
lot
are
of
you
those
blaming the
videos coming out of
CEO
Canada.
versus? Why are you blaming the CEO versus inflation? That's my question.
Why are you blaming this?
Like, the automotive thing, I get blaming Maribala, whatever. Why are you blaming a grocery store CEO on profits versus inflation? Because food, there's no margin on foods.
If there
versus
is a
cars.
perception, right, that they are artificially increasing prices above what they need to cover the inflation rate, people are going to complain. So if they're making 3%, if Kroger's making 3%, but they're selling less units because people have less, right? And they're making more profit on selling less units, then their profit margins will stay the same, but their overall sales volume will go down. This is the idea of like behind Tesla. You lower the prices, you sell more units, you make, say, the same amount of revenue on more vehicles sold, but less money per vehicle. That's the idea. What they're doing is the opposite. They're raising the prices. They're moving less product, but they're still making the same amount of revenue. So on their bottom line, on their balance sheet, they're still making the same amount of money, but they're moving less product, and they're basically spreading that same profit around less people, meaning they're making more money. They're charging people more money for the same products and services.
Yeah. By the way, prices on poultry have skyrocketed over the last couple of weeks, mainly because of bird flu. Right, beef right now is actually trending down, which is good. But you can see here most of the.
Can you make it a little bigger?
Yeah.
Just zoom in a little. That's all.
Hold on. There. So this is like feeder cattle is up, live cattle, lean hogs. Like lean hogs have pretty much been pretty flat, but like beef and cattle prices have actually skyrocketed, man.
Can you trade these
look at
things?
this.
Can you trade?
Yeah,
cattle?
you can trade these
commodities,
things.
baby.
Commodities,
cows.
yeah. Like
Yo, I can
soybeans.
trade some pigs. I can
Soybeans are up. Look at soybeans are
You
up.
should watch
from-
Trading Spaces.
right here.
Or
That's a
trade. What is
movie?
it called? Trading Places? Trading Space? No, Trading Places.
Yeah.
Trading Places. Yes.
What's
it's
that?
it's a classic movie about.
The movie.
Yeah.
Okay, don't hate me for this, but I saw
commodities trading.
I was before I slept. I turned on Rocky on Netflix because I thought I should like enjoy more movies. And the first 2 minutes were so fucking boring. I turned that shit off and I went to sleep.
Wait, which movie?
Rocky. It was so boring the first 2 minutes, bro. Like I needed some excitement. He was just walking on the street, like drinking. I was just like, this is boring. And so I was taking your advice to like get educated because I know
You have
Rocky.
you have to actually watch the whole thing.
It's boring, bro.
But to a person that's used to getting an entire story in 20 seconds on a YouTube short that you can then swipe to the next one, it is a problem. It was the same for us when we were in film school and they wanted you to watch a movie from the 40s. It was so hard to watch those movies because the format of the storytelling was just so difficult for us. The way
like
that
Chris showing me the hog prices was more entertaining than the first 2 minutes of Rocky. Like that's.
I guess this guy's never going to Citizen Kane.
No, I heard that's like the greatest movie of all time. Like,
and you'll never last 10
it's
seconds.
a good movie. Listen, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
It's a good movie, and even more so when you consider the
It has the
conditions that they
attention span
made
of a
it. goldfish.
I was like, I was like staring at it like,
Seriously.
yo, I need to check Twitter right now.
That's
I can't survive. I can't do this.
You're like, where's the live chat? Where's the chat window?
Okay, speaking of Twitter, we didn't get a chance to talk about this yesterday.
You're frozen, buddy.
You can hear me you right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
You got a weird,
this
you got
is
a like
hilarious.
goofy look on your
You
face.
do have a funny. That's funny.
Okay, well, while I'm talking,
There you go.
Elon says he wants to charge everyone to use the platform. Good idea or bad idea? What do you think?
What's the charge?
Bad idea. Bad idea.
Terrible.
We don't know what the charge is. He just says he wants to combat bots this way.
Yeah,
Good idea or bad idea?
he's going to combat them so well, no one will show up.
I don't think that's the case.
No, bro. If he puts a $1 per month charge, bro, People aren't taking out their credit cards for this shit. They'll leave Twitter. They don't give a fuck.
I don't think so. I actually don't think so. I think this is part of the. I think it's the same idea. Like people will just get used to it, and people will just pay it the $1 a month.
I don't think people care that much about Twitter.
I think listen. I think especially going into an election year, a platform like X is incredibly important to get some sort of news outside of the mainstream narrative that's being pushed.
That's why it's important to keep free. That is exactly why it's important to keep free for as many people as possible.
But if that business can't stay afloat, and it will have to shut down, then yes, I do think.
No, he just fires half the other team.
Because you also have to ask yourself, what is the value that you're getting? So this is where you'll see if people
it wastes around 20 minutes of my day. That's the value.
No, I don't think so. I think you're just saying that to be out.
No, I agree that, bro. Carlos, there's like 100,000 people that use Twitter for news in regards to producing the content. Those people will leave. They will leave, bro.
I think you're making a general statement that's not based.
Well, I guess
you're in
find out.
the Twitter world. Financial Twitter is huge for us.
$1 per tweet. It's like the email. Remember, like I think Bill Gates, someone had we should charge $1 per email. That was like a thing back in the day.
That was the post office trying to get ahead of losing money.
The post office? It was somebody,
yeah,
right?
The post office was trying to make a federal law to charge people $1 or a penny per email because they were losing money on actually shipping letters.
A penny per tweet. That'd be amazing.
It didn't pass. But yeah, I do think that people will pay for it. I do think people will. I do think people are really starting to see the value of it. The number of daily active users has gone up. I think it's over 550 million right now. There's
no, that's not daily. Hold on. That's
no, I'm saying
buddy.
550 million people on the platform. There's 200 million. 200
yeah,
million
but you got to take what Elon says with a grain of salt, man. He's throwing out that number. That might be like maybe, if they're lucky, 70 or 80 million people a day. And out of that, how many people are actually tweeting? Like,
well, I'd like to see the stats on that. And you're frozen again.
I gotta use all my money went to Twitter versus Wi-Fi. Okay, let's transition to this one. This will be I think the last one for the day. If you invested in Instacart, you were up 40% on the day at one point, and you ended the day up 12%. Long term, is Instacart a buy at a $10 billion valuation? Vitaly, let's start with you.
Just no. That's it. Don't
Why
buy
not?
it. Well, we talked about it. First of all, just an IPO. Don't buy any IPO and wait a year and see what actually happens and what they announce over the year, how profitable they are, how well their business is doing. I've learned no more IPOs. I'm done with them. I don't even look at it. I don't even care.
Okay.
Going back to your what we started the pod talking about, inflation rates and whatnot. I really think this is not a chance to play around with your portfolio. I really think that we are really starting to see the devaluing of your spending power, however you want to call it, inflation, whatever you want to say. You are not having as much spending power. And so I think you really have to go into, or at least me, protection mode. Don't fuck around with your money. If you're going to invest your money, it's not so much about growing the money anymore. I think it's a protection against what's the devaluing of the spending power of the dollars that you have. So you've got to look at it like, if I'm taking $5,000 today and I'm putting it in the markets, there is a certain expectation of a minimum level of growth that you should expect from this, because it's going to be worth even less the year or two that you take it out right now if it stays flat. And what we're seeing is that at least until the Fed finally starts to lower these rates, that devaluing or the lack of spending power or the devaluing of that spending power is only going to increase over the next year or two until at least the Fed starts to make some pivots. So me personally, I'm not messing around with my money. These things are IPOs. People talking about buying these IPOs, 3, 4, 5 quarters have to go by before I take any of these IPOs seriously. And then even then, really looking at the fundamentals of that company, because you could literally be flushing your money down the toilet. And so for me, I'm in like ultra protection mode.
Well, I want to point out one thing. Amit, you might know this better, but didn't they have when they were private, weren't they worth more than the 10 billion?
40 billion, their last
worth 40 billion. So even their VCs are underwater.
Yeah.
So
wait,
I would not touch this with a 10-foot pole right now.
Oh, the Instacart IPO? No.
Even the VCs are like underwater. They want to sell it to you. They're dying for you to take.
There was a VC that went on CNBC today. It was the most hilarious thing.
What did he say?
The host asked him, like, so it was Alexis Ohanian, the guy who's married to literally the richest tennis player in the world, Serena Williams. He was like, so are you selling your shares? Not your
Reddit?
firms.
Is that the Reddit guy?
The Reddit guy, correct. He invested in Instacart at like Series A. So he's made, I think, like 30x or something. He was like, are you investing, are you cashing out your shares? Not your firm's shares, not your VC shares, your shares. And he said, well, I don't know. Maybe if my wife wants to buy another house, I'll sell some shares. And the host was like, your wife is Serena Williams. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So he just didn't want to publicly say that he's selling all of his fucking shares today. He's getting his liquidity because, like, he didn't want to spook people into
Tank the
thinking that.
stock.
Yeah, but it was hilarious. Chris, are you have any bull case on Instacart? Any contrarian take that we should think of seriously for Instacart?
No, nothing. I haven't done nearly amount of DD, but just looking over it, I just no. Like they should have IPO'd during fucking COVID. Like that was
exactly.
the time.
Mhm.
They would have come out ahead. They would have, because there was so much optimism around delivery, groceries, and everything else. It's just like any other company that benefited from that spike. That's when you were supposed to come out and IPO and unload, but they didn't, and now they're pretty much, they're pretty much where they are. So I don't know.
Right. We just talked about
wouldn't
grocery
touch
prices being so damn high, and now people are going to use a service where they're paying even more in a delivery fee on top of it. It's bad timing.
Yeah.
The other problem is I don't know what holds with Instacart, but so my grocery stores next to me, they deliver themselves. So I can just go, I can go to Stop and Shop or ShopRite. They have apps too that deliver to you, or they'll meet you right out.
You know that Instacart provides them the technology to do that, right?
So I don't know that. But I have to check on that. But in my opinion, for at least my stores, I see them personally coming out. So I don't know if Instacart though is doing some behind the scenes stuff. I have to check that. I think they have their own thing. They have their own apps. Are you saying the app is controlled by Instacart?
Yeah, let me show you the retailers that they partner with. Right here, all of these guys.
ShopRite, Stop and Shop.
Let's see. They do Kroger, Publix, Wegmans, Dollar Tree, Shucks. There's a lot. It's not a little bit. There's actually quite a few that they partner with to do. Hold on.
That's probably a better business model for them, is to be the back end and to serve the customers so that you're still using the Target app or the Walmart app. I have one of those smart fridges that has a lot of these apps built into it, and we used Instacart a couple of times. The markup was just way too high. It actually became a lot easier to use Amazon Fresh. They bought Whole Foods, and so it actually just made a lot more sense to use Amazon. The delivery fee was so cheap, and it came packaged really nice right at your door. You could set a really small window with which to get your groceries, and for $1 or $2 more, you could set that to within an hour. So we were able to say, hey, we both have to leave here by 8 a.m. Let's get the groceries 7 to 8. It was like so convenient. It's like, it's hard. I think it's hard to compete with that with a company like Amazon.
Yeah, so there you go, Vitaly. ShopRite. If you use ShopRite, it's actually Instacart in the background.
Interesting.
So Fairway, ShopRite, Costco, Wegmans.
Oh shit.
Oh, Stop and Shop there too. Yeah.
Yeah, Stop and Shop, Target, Food Bazaar.
So that means the apps that you download from them are actually controlled by Instacart.
Yeah, pretty much. So they
Have you
provide back.
Have you guys ever been to an Aldi?
Looks like a lot. It's worth looking into.
I've been to an Aldi's, yeah.
Yeah,
holy shit! I'm scrolling.
I like the concept of that supermarket, but I think they're going out of business.
Yeah.
I think they're going out.
Aldi's? You think Aldi's is going out of business?
Yeah, I think so.
I guess there's a bull case for this company after all, but not
Aldi's is one of them.
They're the back, and then that's a technology company. That they're not really in the food delivery business.
Well, the advertising revenue is the bull case for them. That's because there's like a 4% margin they make on the groceries, but the advertising is like 90% margin. So,
well, how much?
Let's do some more research. Let's not just write this off. Let's do more research.
Okay, literally last topic for the day. Probably V and Carlos, you can spit on this for a couple minutes. TJ Rogers bought 32,000 shares of Enphase. Stock popped up 5% today. I think it fell down a little bit after that. But is TJ Rogers saying he thinks the company is undervalued, even if the company is not issuing the buybacks yet? So how do you reconcile? A company may not be buying back stock, but TJ Rogers is buying back some stock.
Can I take it,
Sally?
Carlos?
I'm just looking something up in the meantime.
Well, look, TJ, he always buys when the stock tanks. It's not his first time buying, first of all. So he never gets the bottom. That's the thing. So I'm not saying that this is the bottom, but he always gets close. He gets close enough where if he's putting millions of dollars to work, he does well. I think the last time he did it was 160 and it shot up to somewhere like 340. So this guy knows what he's doing. So if he feels like this is valuable to invest in, I'm not saying people should follow TJ Rogers because he has a longer time horizon. He can sit there for the next decade and not care about his investment. But it just shows you that he thinks this is a worthwhile investment at this point because he doesn't buy at 300, by the way. And in fact, if you look at the insider sells, they were all selling at $300.
Did he sell at 300 at all?
I don't know if he sold personally, but there were insiders who were selling. Enough of them where they were all offloading shares, including CEO, I believe.
A lot of people were offloading shares at 300 something.
Yeah,
but if you look at the
they're not doing that
timeframe-
though at 120. So this should show you something. And unfortunately, Badri is not buying, but TJ is. So it could be just because Badri gets more options. I don't know.
If you look at the path that it took to get to that 300, I think it was pretty obvious that not that it was overvalued, but it had run up a lot in a short period of time. And I think people that were holding massive amounts of shares, even if they were bullish on the companies, even into sell so that you could rebuy at a lower price. And also they do have insider information. They might have known some of the things that were coming in the next couple of quarters. You can't hold that against them. That's part of what they have the right to, having worked at the company. But like to Vitaly's point, TJ knows the company better than all of us, right? And so him buying so heavy, because it wasn't just that he bought, it was that he bought so heavy at this price. It tells you something. And he understands the business way better than we do. And so, yeah, I think that is a sign that he feels that it is a great value at this price. It's not to say he won't buy more lower, but he's saying, man, this thing has come down so much. I know where we're going, and it's worth me spending this capital now. That makes me a little bit more bullish on Q3. It makes me feel like the numbers in Q3 might not be as bad as we think.
So they have a blackout period. So some people were passing this around, Carlos, that there's a blackout period for them to buy, for insiders to buy, and it's coming up. So it's interesting that TJ got his order in before the period happened.
Well, look, maybe there will be a better deal in Q3 after Q3 earnings. And if we're still around these levels, if we're still around this 118, 120 level in Q3 and it's bad, that's a $90 stock. I'm sorry. It's going to be, going to get hit.
Absolutely,
it's going to be a $90, $80 stock. And if he can't buy at those levels, then yeah, it makes more sense to pick up what he could pick up right now.
Oh, good job, Bill White. You put that up. He bought himself a 31 kilowatt hour system. That's a big system. Congratulations. That's massive.
This company, I would say this company is worth looking into. It's called VITALY. They actually spinned off of Jeffries. They're an oil play in the Bakken. I'm probably going to talk about it more with Matt, but look at the insider buying here. All at 22s and the 16th, and it's been going up.
It's just an oil play, right? That's all it is? Oil play?
Yeah, it's oil. But at the same time, the numbers just look way, way too compelling, man. Like I'll probably go over it pretty significantly, but it's worth looking into. It really is. It's such a undervalued company for the amount of net income that it generates. The only negative downside that they have in the short term is that they have some oil hedges that may end up being negative for them. But other than that, insiders, like literally as recent as last week, they were buying shares. You know, CFO bought shares.
41% year to date.
Yeah. Worth looking at. I'm telling you.
Well, it went public in January. So
okay. Exactly.
I do want to say though that we have a Discord. We don't mention enough, Carlos, and we're doing another installer. By the way, we're having another installer on next Wednesday, so we probably do a live actual discussion with an installer from Pennsylvania. He does Enphase, but he doesn't recommend the batteries, by the way. So he's going to give us a bunch of details about that.
Okay, that'll be fun.
So we'll do that. The other thing is that I am buying SolarEdge. So in fact, I haven't buying as much Enphase because I feel like I have enough of that. I feel SolarEdge is completely being ignored and undervalued and being thrown out, baby with the bathwater, because the American solar industry has been hit. We know that, but I'm not sure SolarEdge is quite as big in America in terms of their market share. It's more about Europe, and their commercial business is growing rapidly. So people should look at that too. It's not just Enphase, it's also SolarEdge now, just because it's so cheap, in my opinion.
Okay. That's it for us today. Awesome stuff, guys. We will see everybody tomorrow. FOMC meeting. We'll see if this 99% chance of a pause doesn't happen. Oh, wait. The final super chats, and then we'll get out of here. David, thank you for the $14 super chat. If there was a train like a Roman gladiator boot camp, I'm guessing every member of Finance Junkies except AMIT would pass.
Yo, did you see AMIT doing pull-ups the other day? You did what?
Yo,
6 I saw you.
Yeah,
I saw you.
Pull-ups straight.
He's going straight to 10. He's going straight to 10.
But I'll say this: do switch your grip.
But that hurts. I know that's the right way to do it, but that's
the way. That's the way you'll get those nice big forearms, because then you're just using your bicep. But yes, flip
he already has big forearms.
He has one big forearm, the right.
I'm starting to see my veins pop out too. It's really nice.
Why is one arm bigger than the other arm?
Oh, that's mean. Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. David, when it comes to Unity and other opportunities, do you think Unity makes sense for the BODs?
Board of directors, I think.
To tell John, the CEO, to make like a tree and get out of here, they should hire former Apple SVP as their new CEO. That's an interesting take. Vitaly, what do you think?
Yeah, this CEO, the more recent, I actually had a podcast with Tevis. I'm not sure if anyone saw it, but we talked about Unity a lot, and it was a good conversation. But yeah, John, the CEO, is a real piece of work, and he was at EA. He wanted to charge for actual bullets from, when someone's playing 6 hours of Call of Duty or something. He's like, well, why don't we charge you $1 for like more bullets because you're going to pay us? So that guy should.
That guy's smart. I like that guy.
That guy's smart.
Capitalism.
No, but like that's very short-term thinking. If you want to fuck over the players and the game developers, it's very short-term thinking. So I don't like that guy. If he leaves, I'd be more bullish. And I did sell about half my position.
Wow. So you hated the CEO that much, you got rid of it.
I hated what they did, and I don't like the CEO at all. Absolutely.
Okay. Results on the poll: Instacart. 93% of people do not use Instacart. Off 80 votes.
That's because it's the background. It's not.
Right.
There's.
That's true.
They
It might be
might
the
not
background.
know that they're using it.
They probably use it. Yeah.
The exact app.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Good stuff. We will see you tomorrow, 7 p.m. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you then.
Hey, stick around just a minute after this, guys.
Okay, us. Okay. Bye, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Later.